It often happens in silence, maybe in a sterile hospital room, maybe at home filled with family, or perhaps in utter solitude. The body stills, the pulse quiets. The very breath that came and went your whole life without ever asking is finally let go. But most people have no idea that in this exact moment, something profound is still unfolding. Something immense, completely unseen by the naked eye. Your essence, the core of awareness that animated your body through its entire journey, begins to uncouple itself. This isn't an instant event like flicking off a switch. It's more like the gentle loosening of a complex weave, threaded with every emotion, memory, and decision you ever made. Near-death experiences offer a window into what this is like. Individuals who were clinically gone for minutes share strikingly similar stories. A feeling of sudden weightlessness, an overwhelming calm, and the unmistakable sensation of floating free from their physical form. Some describe seeing their own body from above, as if they were hovering near the ceiling. Others can still hear conversations around them, but have no way to join in. Your consciousness is still you, vibrant and aware, but no longer connected to its physical shell. The separation of spirit and body is also an energetic shift. Ancient wisdom teaches that a tether, sometimes called the silver cord, links us to our form. This connection, joining the physical with the spiritual, wears thin until it finally snaps, marking the ultimate severing from the material world. But not every consciousness releases with ease. For those whose passing is sudden and violent, or for souls deeply attached to worldly things, the untethering can be disorienting and sharp. There's a jolt of confusion. The consciousness might try to stay, not understanding why nobody answers, why its frantic calls go unheard. It feels like waking from an intensely real dream, only to find you are no longer in that reality. Emotionally, the impact is seismic. Picture someone who lived their entire existence thinking death was a final curtain, only to suddenly find themselves fully aware, watching their own body, feeling the vibrations of grief, but unable to bridge the gap. It is the start of a brand new journey, but you're standing there without a map, without a single signpost. For those with a stronger spiritual compass, this moment is one of pure surrender. The soul gets what's happening. It senses the presence of guides, spiritual allies, beings made of light who arrive to assist. There is a soft, almost parental embrace, a hand reaching out from just beyond the veil. It all begins when the breathing stops. But the real end, unlike what so many believe, is truly a new beginning. The soul is set free, yes, but it brings along everything it ever was: the triumphs, the heart-touches, the hard-won wisdom. It leaves the body behind, but its hands are full. What comes next is what we're here to explore. Imagine opening your eyes in a room you know by heart, but everything feels tilted. The colors are richer. The sounds seem to echo from both inside and outside your mind. And the people you love are acting like you're not even there. You shout, you try to grab their shoulder, but your hand moves through them like smoke. You are simultaneously present and completely invisible. For countless souls, this is the very first moment of awakening on the subtle plane. Immediately after separating from the physical vessel, consciousness doesn't dim. In fact, it often becomes sharper than ever before. The challenge is, the soul doesn't always grasp that it has passed on. This sparks a deep sense of bewilderment. It knows something is fundamentally wrong, but it can't quite name it. This confusion arises because the soul is still wearing the clothes of its physical life. It identifies as the exact same person. It has the same thoughts, the same anxieties, the same collection of memories. That's precisely why it often attempts to continue its old routine. It tries to go home, to check on the kids, to finish that one last task. But nothing gives way to its touch. The doors don't swing open. Its voice makes no sound. No one looks up. And this creates a crushing feeling of loneliness and distress. Some souls can linger for days, even weeks, circling the life they knew, especially if the end was abrupt, an accident, a sudden heart attack, or worse. The shock is so profound that the spirit needs a moment to process this new reality. It's like emerging from a deep coma, with no doctor there to tell you where you are or what has transpired. Certain spiritual teachings, like Spiritism, explain that this immediate post-death period is vital for the soul's journey ahead. If it remains too fixated on material things, on its own suffering, or on an incomplete goal, it can get temporarily stuck in what's known as the lower astral, or the Earth's edge, a state caught between worlds, where it still feels the full weight of human emotion, but has no body to express it. In this phase, spiritual connections are what make all the difference. If the soul built a life of inner work, faith, or simple kindness, it tends to receive help quickly. Spiritual guides show up. Beings of light appear to help guide it through the transition. But if the soul lived without these spiritual anchors, the process can be slower, more isolated. Even then, it is never truly left alone. It just might take longer for it to see the help that's there. Interestingly, some people in their final days report seeing relatives who have already passed away. These bedside visits, which many might dismiss as mere hallucinations, could be the soul's very first introductions to the subtle world, a kind of pre-awakening where it begins to hear the call from the other side. It's also typical in the first hours after passing for the soul to follow the events surrounding its body, the flurry of paramedics, the tears of family, the arrival of friends. All of this feeds into the initial fog of confusion. The soul sees it all, feels it all, but it is no longer a part of that world in the way it used to be. And that fracture from reality can be a bitter pill to swallow. The clock on earth keeps right on ticking. But on the other side, time operates by completely different rules. Still, across many spiritual paths, from Kardec's Spiritism to Tibetan Buddhism and Hindu esoteric streams, the first 7 days create a crucial bridge, an energetic pathway where the soul stays profoundly linked to physical reality. Right after the initial shock of finding itself outside the body, the soul instinctively looks for what's familiar. Some spirits choose to linger right there, by the bedside or in the hospital room, watching the paperwork being filled out, observing the routines of care. Others will trail their family, hovering above the car on the way to the funeral home, the church, or the graveside. They have no earthly schedule anymore, but they feel an internal pressure. They have a deep need to understand their new state, while also wanting to make sure that their loved ones are going to be all right. In this symbolic window of time, the wake or funeral service gains a dual significance. For those still living, it's a necessary ritual for goodbyes, for sharing stories, and for finding comfort in each other. For the soul, it is a front row seat to the impact of its own life and departure. Every tear that's noticed, every word of thanks whispered, every smile that breaks through the sorrow, all of it shapes the departed's awareness of the legacy they created. It's not unheard of for mediums or people with higher sensitivity to report feeling a soft current of air, a chill on their skin, or just a gentle presence moving through the flower arrangements. These are signals that the soul is present, navigating this very human ceremony that just yesterday it was a part of. It senses the fragrances, it hears the low murmur of conversation, it sees its own pictures propped up near the casket. All of these details help it piece together the undeniable truth that its time on earth is complete. This is a vital step that allows it to finally give itself permission to move on. During these first 7 days, the soul's energy is still vibrating very close to the material world. This is why the emotions of the living have a powerful effect. They act like gusts of wind. They can either gently guide the soul toward brighter realms or anchor it to the heavy ground of grief and denial. Loud cries of despair and desperate pleas like, "I can't go on without you," create energetic ties that bind and confuse, holding back the soul's release. Honest prayers, loving remembrances, and a calm sense of acceptance become like lanterns illuminating the path ahead. Many traditions honor the 7th day with special services, masses, incense rituals, or simple family gatherings to tell stories. Spiritually, this is seen as a point of magnetic release. The energetic threads still connecting the soul to its former life begin to gently dissolve. If the soul has managed to accept its passing, has felt the support around it, and has started to grasp its new reality, its own vibration naturally rises. A gateway, often described as a light-filled tunnel, a silvery bridge, or a portal of blue mist, opens up, beckoning it to journey onward. But this process isn't a simple formula. There are stories of spirits who complete this stage in a matter of hours, while others, tangled in attachment, may linger for months. This 7-day marker is less of a strict timeline and more of an archetypal cycle. It mirrors the universal pattern of completion we see everywhere, like in the phases of the moon or the notes of a musical scale. Once this cycle concludes, the soul has the basic conditions needed to distance itself from the dense frequencies of Earth and enter the more refined transitional spaces. For those who remain, understanding that their loved one can still feel their energetic state changes the entire experience of grief. It encourages transforming raw pain into gratitude, sharing stories that celebrate a life lived, and sending out love through prayer or focused thought. This actively contributes to the peace of the one who has departed. And for those of us contemplating our own mortality, knowing about this 7-day passage inspires us to live with fewer loose ends. It pushes us to forgive, to build bridges, not walls, making our own future transition that much smoother when our time arrives. Following the initial 7 days, defined by the soul's close proximity to the physical world, a quieter but just as meaningful phase begins the 40 days of release. It is within this time frame that the soul genuinely begins to sever its deepest connections to material existence and engages in a process of profound review, healing, and liberation. This concept of a 40-day period echoes through numerous spiritual traditions. In Christian teachings, Jesus is said to have stayed with his disciples for 40 days after his resurrection before his ascension. In Spiritism, this cycle is viewed as a period of energetic cleansing. In Tibetan Buddhism, the bardo, the in-between state from one life to the next, can also span this duration. This is not by chance. The number 40 holds a universal symbolic weight of transformation and major transition. During these 40 days, the soul undergoes something like opening a cherished, well-worn book and revisiting every single page of the life it just concluded. The purpose here isn't about outside judgment. There's no figure with a gavel ready to declare a verdict of good or bad. The review is entirely internal. The soul relives its choices, its feelings, and the true motives behind every action. But there's a critical distinction here. It now directly experiences the effect it had on others. If it caused someone pain, it now relives that exact pain from the other person's perspective. If it showed love, it feels that love multiply back with all the warmth it created in another's heart. This is one of the most powerful processes of the afterlife, to truly understand the ripple effect of your own life, for better or worse, as if you can finally see the echo you left in every person you met. In this phase, it's very common for the soul to be joined by beings of light, often called spiritual mentors. Their role isn't to condemn or congratulate, but to facilitate understanding. They gently illuminate other paths that could have been taken. They help the soul grasp why certain challenges were necessary, and, most importantly, to extract the wisdom from them. You can't change what's past, but you can learn everything from it. And this learning is what unlocks true freedom. Freedom from guilt, from old anger, and from the fantasies that keep a soul tethered to its former life. Throughout these 40 days, the soul's grip on material things, its home, possessions, career habits, and even people, begins to loosen. This doesn't mean it forgets its loved ones. Far from it. It starts to see those connections in their purest state, stripped of the ego's demands and the minor grievances that so often clouded love on earth. But to go forward, it must let go. Many spirits feel pain at this stage, when they see their families clinging to them, refusing to be consoled, and trying to hold them back energetically with constant, painful thoughts or vows never to move on. The soul feels this, and no matter how much love is behind it, this type of attachment acts like a heavy weight on the feet of someone who desperately needs to walk forward. It's also during this time that dreams involving the deceased often become exceptionally vivid. The soul may draw close to its loved ones to offer a sign, a message, or just a final, reassuring look. These dreams feel intensely real, filled with emotion, because they frequently are actual meetings, a way for the soul to tie up loose ends, bring peace to grieving hearts, and ask for the freedom to depart. By the end of the 40 days, a sort of final energetic release happens. The soul, now lighter and more aware of its journey, feels prepared to enter higher, more subtle realities. It bids farewell to the earthly plane, but it takes with it the authentic bonds, the love that transcends physical presence, the lessons learned, and the very essence of who it truly was. For those still living, this moment can register in surprising ways. A sudden feeling of peace settling in your chest, a clear sense that they are okay now, or even symbolic signs, a specific fragrance drifting through a room, a meaningful song playing at just the right moment, or a butterfly appearing in a place you'd least expect. These are the small, beautiful signals that mark the beginning of their true departure. One of the most stunning realizations for many is that even after the body has passed, the link between the one who left and those left behind remains powerfully active and influential. In this fragile time, particularly in the first few months post-departure, the emotions of the living send strong ripples through the soul's spiritual journey. It might sound like an overstatement, but look at it this way: when we are alive and deeply connected to someone, we can often feel when they're upset without a single word being exchanged. Now, picture that same connection, but without the filter of a physical body, without the normal sensory barriers. That's precisely how it works on the spiritual plane. Emotions become direct energy waves that strike the soul with their full, unfiltered power. As we've discussed, grief is perfectly natural. The sting of loss, the tears, the longing, these are all part of the human experience of saying goodbye. The issue arises when that love soars into a desperate, clinging attachment. This happens when the person who remains insists, whether they know it or not, on shackling the departed to their own pain. Phrases like, "My life is over without you," "How could you abandon me?" or "Please come back," generate such a heavy emotional charge that they function like energetic anchors. The soul, which has already started to move forward, feels this pull backward, and often out of love, it turns around. It lingers, trying to offer comfort, trying to explain, but in doing so, it also becomes stuck and confused, delaying its own necessary journey. There are countless accounts of spirits who stay tethered for months or even years, circling their loved ones. They don't do this with ill intent, but because they feel a sense of duty. They feel they cannot leave, while the people they love are still emotionally devastated, and this can create a cycle of shared suffering. The soul can't ascend, and the living person can't begin to heal. This is not about forgetting them. It's the exact opposite. It's about honoring the space that person filled in your life without tying their beautiful memory to suffering. True love never ends. It simply transforms. And when the soul finally feels that it has permission to move on, it can also visit you in healthier ways, inspire you, and bring you calm, because now there is space for that light to come through. There is a point, after the process of release and the life review is complete, when the soul arrives at a crossroads or, in some instances, hears a call it cannot ignore. This is the moment when spiritual gateways open, inviting the newly freed consciousness to continue its journey forward. But where does it lead? Is there one set place, a single heaven or hell, a spiritual city, a brand new world? The reality is less rigid than old belief systems taught, and infinitely more fascinating. The soul's next stop isn't a physical location, but a vibrational match to the inner world it cultivated during its life. Spiritual portals are, at their core, gateways between frequencies. Some souls are guided into this new realm by spiritual beings. Others just feel an internal compass, a magnetic pull toward what's next. There are also those who, despite being free from the body, remain disoriented or trapped unable to perceive any portal at all. This is usually due to dense, heavy emotions like profound guilt, terror, a desire for revenge, or an unbreakable attachment. These gateways can open to many different kinds of destinations. One of the most vivid descriptions of these destinations comes from spiritist writings, particularly in the works of Chico Xavier. In books like No Solar, channeled from the spirit André Louis, we see portrayals of genuine spiritual colonies. These are organized cities with structures for healing, libraries, vast gardens, and schools where spirits undergo phases of recovery, education, and preparation for their next assignments. Many mediums from all over the world describe similar realms. These are high-frequency environments, open to souls who, despite their flaws, lived with a sense of integrity, ethics, and a genuine wish to be better. In these places, the soul is cared for, healed, and gently reacquainted with its deeper spiritual identity. Beyond these colonies, there exist what are broadly called the astral planes. These levels of reality don't have hard borders, but are layered by vibration. The higher the soul's frequency, the more radiant and light-filled the planes become. In these realms, time bends, matter is fluid, thought manifests reality, and all experiences are rich with symbolism. On the denser planes, by contrast, you find zones of confusion, suffering, and emotional loops. Some traditions call this the umbral, or the valley of shadows. Many mistakenly think this is a punishment, but it's more of a direct mirror of an unresolved inner state. Not every soul travels straight to a colony or a specific plane. A great many pass through transitional zones first, places for observation, for waiting, or for initial healing. Think of it like a spiritual emergency room where the soul is met by mentors, has its energy assessed, and is stabilized for its next destination. It's in these very spaces that many are joyfully reunited with family members who passed on before them, with their longtime spirit guides, or even with beings who watched over their lives without them ever knowing. So in the end, does the soul get to choose where it goes? The answer is both yes and no. The soul doesn't pick its destination from a travel brochure. It is naturally drawn to the place that matches its own energetic signature. However, souls with a higher degree of spiritual awareness, those who did the inner work during their lifetime, have much more clarity at this moment of transition. They can sense the gateways opening, they understand the invitations, and they recognize the pathways. This clarity gives them greater freedom of choice and allows their journey to unfold with much less struggle. After navigating the spiritual gateways and arriving at its correct vibrational destination, the soul embarks on a new chapter, a phase of spiritual healing and re-education. This is where it starts to truly process everything it experienced, everything it felt, and everything it still needs to learn to continue evolving. But more than anything, this is where it discovers profound healing, because make no mistake, the soul carries its own scars. Even when it's free of the physical form, it can still hold on to emotional pain, old traumas, and deep-seated regrets, burdens that death itself did not erase. And unlike what many assume, leaving the body isn't like wiping the slate clean and starting from scratch. Because your consciousness is still fundamentally you. One of the soul's first experiences in these subtle realms is being welcomed into spaces designed for energetic and emotional restoration. In many spiritual paths, these places are depicted as quiet, luminous chambers where specialized beings work with immense love and wisdom. In these sanctuaries, the soul is allowed to literally rest. There are spirits that sleep for periods that would equate to days, weeks, or even months in Earth time. It's a deep, restorative slumber, essential for reorganizing their entire energetic blueprint. It's a period of decompression, much like a deep sea diver who must surface slowly to avoid being crushed by the change in pressure. Others receive more active forms of therapy. They are given magnetic energy treatments, bathed in healing frequencies, or they participate in sessions of gentle counseling with their spiritual mentors. All of this work shares one single purpose: to bring the being back into a state of harmony. Once the resting phase is complete, the soul is invited to expand its awareness. This expansion happens through learning, not cold academic knowledge, but a living, breathing wisdom. Yes, there are schools on the subtle planes, but the teaching style is entirely different. Learning doesn't just come from texts, it comes from direct experience, from vibrational simulations, and from shared insights between spirits at all different levels of growth. The soul gets to revisit past errors, but this time with a crystal clear understanding. It grasps the power of emotions. It learns about universal principles like cause and effect, resonance, and unconditional love. And, perhaps most transformingly, it begins to understand its own identity beyond the ego, free from its old name, its job title, its appearance, or its nationality. The soul finally meets itself as pure essence, and that discovery is, in itself, a powerful form of healing. As it regains its strength, the soul starts to get ready for what comes next. And no, that does not automatically mean returning for another life right away. The possibilities are vast. Some souls choose to stay for extended periods in the subtle planes, to deepen their knowledge, to assist other souls in their transitions, or to develop specific skills. They become helpers in the spiritual domain, taking on missions of support, rescue, or inspiration that touch the lives of those still on earth. Others, after fully understanding what they still need to work on, decide to return to the material world for a new incarnation. This is never a hasty decision. It is a highly conscious process, discussed in detail with guides, and planned with incredible precision. Every element of the future life is mapped out: the family dynamics, the built-in challenges, the innate gifts, and the destined meetings and separations that will serve as catalysts for growth. We delve much deeper into how that choice is made in other discussions. I highly recommend our Mysteries of Life playlist. Some of you might be wondering, can the soul actually visit Earth? The answer is a definitive yes. In fact, it happens much more frequently than we realize. This isn't about reincarnation just yet. We're talking about spiritual visitations. Moments when a soul that has already passed on makes a temporary return to the earthly plane to watch over, to comfort, to say a proper goodbye, to protect, or simply to be close to the people it loves. And these visits occur in ways so subtle they can easily be missed. Other times, they are so powerful that you think, there is no doubt they were just here. A soul can manifest among the living in several ways, and the method often depends on the spirit's level of evolution, its emotional bond with those who remain, and the specific reason for the visit. Visits in dreams. This is one of the most common and profoundly moving forms of contact. Nearly anyone who has lost someone they love has likely had this experience. You dream of that person with such startling realism that when you wake up, you're certain the encounter was real. And in many cases, it absolutely was. These aren't just regular dreams. They are actual meetings on the astral plane, made possible when your own consciousness is released from the body during sleep. The soul of the living meets the soul of the departed. You might exchange glances, share a hug, or speak the words that were left unspoken, and you awaken with a lighter heart, feeling a sense of resolution. These dreams are often marked by incredible details, brilliant colors, physical sensations, and crystal clear messages. You wake up knowing, that was more than a dream. I know they were with me. And you are right to trust that feeling. Subtle signs in everyday life. Sometimes, the soul's presence isn't visual, but is instead communicated through small signs. A familiar scent, like their perfume or pipe smoke, that appears from nowhere. A song that comes on the radio at the perfect moment, with lyrics that feel like a direct message. An object that inexplicably falls over. A soft caress of wind when you're feeling a moment of deep sorrow. These are gentle nudges, whispers from beyond, to let you know someone is near. These signs tend to appear more often when the soul senses a loved one is in need of support. It comes close, it observes, and it comforts. It might not always be able to intervene directly, but its very presence provides an anchor of strength. Spiritual appearances. In more uncommon situations, typically involving mediums or people who are naturally very sensitive. A soul might appear in an almost tangible form, as a shadowy figure, a ball of light in the corner of a room, an image at the foot of the bed, or even a disembodied voice. This is not the norm, as not every soul has the permission or the energetic capacity to manifest so powerfully. Protective interventions. There are cases where a soul, especially one that now serves as a spiritual guide or protector, may intervene directly in the life of someone on earth. This could be preventing an accident, inspiring a life-altering decision, or gently steering them away from a harmful path. The living person just feels a sudden premonition, a powerful gut feeling, or an unseen hand guiding their actions. And that is precisely what's happening. How can you encourage these encounters? The first step is to simply keep your heart open, making peace with their departure, accepting the natural cycle of life, and cultivating positive feelings creates a stable bridge between the worlds. Sincere prayer is powerful, as is remembering them with joy and speaking to them with love, without demanding a reply. But critically, don't wait with obsessive expectation. Spiritual visits are not on-demand events. The soul comes when the timing is right, and only if the visit won't cause harm to them or to you. That's why letting go is so essential. To love without needing to possess. To allow the higher order to guide the process. And it's remarkable how, even after someone is gone, we begin to see life through new eyes. We feel things more deeply. We value things more. We come to understand that everything that truly matters is invisible to the eye, and that the energy we choose to live in affects not just our own path, but also the paths of those we love, both here and on the other side. It's at this point that many people have a vital awakening, the profound responsibility we have for our own energy. Every thought, every emotion, every act of gratitude or kindness builds an energetic bridge between realities. It's no surprise that so many highly evolved souls can visit their loved ones easily. Their vibration is high, and the living people who keep their own energy fields clean, light, and aware can feel that presence because they are on the same wavelength. If you're feeling that call to reconnect, to shift your own frequency, and to start building a life that's more aligned with your soul, I want to invite you to the Quantum Thinking Challenge. It's a 21-day program where you'll get into the daily practice of gratitude, reprogram your mindset, and unlock your true energetic power. It's 3 weeks of conscious effort, vibrational uplift, and activating your own connection to what is most true and subtle. Many people who have gone through it report tangible, powerful changes in their lives. And perhaps this is your moment. You can find access in the first pinned comment. Throughout this first year after departing, there are certain moments that act as vibrational gateways, recognized across different spiritual paths as windows of opportunity between the worlds. The 7th day, as we explored, signifies the first major energetic shift. The 40th day marks the closing of the cycle of material attachment, and the first anniversary of their passing is seen as a complete energetic closure, a kind of spiritual accounting of what was learned in life and during the transition. Once a full year has gone by since a soul's departure, something fundamental shifts, both energetically and spiritually. It is as if a full circle has been drawn, empowering that consciousness to move forward with even greater freedom, and allowing those still on earth to finally transform their deep grief into a peaceful memory. By this stage, the majority of souls have already found their place in the next phase. They may be settled on a new plane of existence, engaged in spiritual service, or possibly even making preparations for their next earthly experience. For the living, the first anniversary doesn't have to be a day defined only by sorrow. It can also be a celebration of life's continuation in a different state of being. It's a moment to look up or to look within, and to know that everything, truly everything, is part of a magnificent, unfolding cycle.